Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai hoki mai ki tēnei whārangi purangi o te Pāti Māori, and to another wonderful night of Māori Conversations. It's nice to be back after having the night off yesterday as I delivered my child back to school. Tonight, I'm excited to spend some time getting to know our latest and greatest candidate for Te Tai Tokerau, Mariameno Kapa. No Te Aupōuri, me Ngāti Kahu ki Whāinga Roa. She's our newly announced candidate for the Māori Party standing in Te Tai Tokerau. Ngā mihi kia koe, Mariameno.
Ai, ka te mihi kia koe.
And we are very lucky to be joined by Mariameno's whānau, her 3 sons tonight. As mentioned, also Te Aupōuri, Ngāti Kahu ki Whāinga Roa, but also Te Whānau Apanui and Waikato hoki. Ngā mihi kia koe, Heemi, Tipene, me Eru. And I should also acknowledge there's a sister in here who has given her apologies for the evening. But it's wonderful to see you, Mariameno, surrounded by your whānau and your boys. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you put your hand up to stand for the Māori Party in this election?
Kia ora tātou katoa te motu. So, about myself. I whānau mai au I Te Kao, so born in Te Kao. And then mummy and daddy moved us down to Hāngarei, sort of in the early 60s. So 10 children and 2 parents in a 4-bedroom Māori affairs home. So I pretty much lived and went to school here in Hāngarei. Started my first job here in George Courts some years ago, then decided to do a bit of travelling, went overseas for a bit, came back and moved to Taupo. Did quite a bit of time there, working across the Central Plateau, moved to Kirikiriroa, did some study there, and eventually moved back to Whangarei. So it's a bit about me, 10 siblings. Why did I put my hand up for the party? I feel I'm willing. I'm willing and I feel able to take the job on. I particularly have enjoyed and getting to really work with the candidates across the team. So the new lineup of 7, it's an impressive lineup, and I'm getting a real charge of what it is we can do as a group. The Māori Party, the kaupapa is business as usual for Māori, so that makes Māori sense to me. It's nothing new, but I think this is a refreshed crew, and I think it's a new time. So yes, so I guess willing and able and ready to go.
It is exciting, and I love seeing our 7 all together because I think you all complement each other really well. And for you in particular, you've got a lot of background in health and social services. Can you talk to us a little bit about the mahi you've done in the past?
So, been working in Māori providers mainly, loving that. Been part of the establishment of Te Kōhao Health in Kirikiriroa. Key lead in sort of the whānau water work as well up in Te Tai Tokerau. And health and social service, social justice work. Very much, I was recalling a time back in the 1980s with Pāo Te Atatu and all of that hopeful time. It didn't go the way we needed it to go, and now we have whānau ora, and I feel like this is, again, it feels like we're back in that game where we are making it happen for whānau and whānau Māori. And so that's that health, social justice. Suicide prevention is something I have a particular interest, I don't know whether that's the word, but a commitment to that work and making those differences with whānau and Tai Tokerau.
That's really important mahi, that. So ngā mihi kia koe, Mariameno. The other important role, of course, is as mama, and we're lucky enough to be joined by your 3 boys. Now, you and I have had a kōrero earlier about being a mother of triplets, man. Ngā mihi kia koe whai, that's awesome. Now, you told me then that you've been very purposeful in how you've raised your boys and how you've raised these young men who are with us tonight. Can you tell us, when they were born, what was your dream for them? And what are the challenges that you've faced to make sure that they have become the wonderful men we've got sitting with us tonight?
my dreams for them, to live out full Māori boy lives, to become their Māori selves, to take their place in their marae and in their communities. Yes, just to we always thought just to become thinkers, to be Māori thinkers, to speak Māori. Those are the things that we wanted and we still want for them. That's really that work, that stuff.
Mm. So when I emailed your boys about tonight, I asked them what they do for mahi. And I won't say what everyone does, but I will say you're very impressive. And actually an example of standing strong as Māori, but standing strong in both worlds, on both sides. So ngā mihi kia koutou. Heemi, he pātai tāku.
Right.
Again, me and your mum have been having a kōrero, and she said she runs a very tight ship at home. Can you tell me how you would describe her as a mama?
Yeah, very close to that truth, which is mum was very disciplined with us growing up. But at the same time, to the same degree, mum showed us the deepest love. And that balance taught us what it means to be regimented, what work ethic is, and then also how to follow your heart and do the right things by that same creed. So yeah, it was a tight ship at home, but we're very grateful for it.
Ora. Now, Iru, ko koe te pōtiki o te toko toru nei. They're triplets, I should say. I've said they're brothers, but you're actually triplets. Did you get up to any mischief as a kid, and how did your mum manage and respond to that?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point there, pātai. Yeah, I guess as we all do growing up, learning different things, we'll get up to, or sort of test the boundaries a bit as best as we can. And yeah, as Mum was saying, she always taught us to be critical thinkers. And so I was always critical about the rules that were imposed on us at home, naturally. So really it was Mum's doing that. Sometimes we would push the boundaries and question things that were going on. And yeah, in our, I guess, attempts to try and push those boundaries, at the end of the day, e mohi o pai mātou ko māma te pōhi o mātou. Yeah, he maha ngā akoranga. We learned, a lot growing up, and yeah, as Heemi was saying, looking back at it, as much as we might have moaned at that time, now we're really grateful just to have those principles. And yeah, e rā akoranga ko au taina mai ki runga ki a mātou.
And I think it was you who told me your mum was a 4-time black belt.
Yeah.
Champion. Has that played out in the home? No.
Well, Mum used to take lessons actually with Lawa ko Tomato Papa, and if you see our dad, he's a pretty big fella. But Mum used to do sort of some demonstrations with different various lōpū, and it was just seeing our mum compared to, she's tiny compared to our dad, but seeing her flip dad over with one arm, that would just put the fear of God into anyone. So she didn't really have to do anything to us. But ka roha ki a papa, ko ia te rei rongo i te mamai, i te mate. Yeah, he akoranga tonu, ko ia hoki te tahi atu, akoranga I taina mai ki runga ki a mātou.
Rawe rawa atu. Now, Tipene, having grown up north, what do you see as some of the key challenges that our whānau in Te Tai Tokerau, the electorate where your mum is standing, are facing?
Tēnā koe te rā pātai. For me, it's the poverty cycle, and not just features such as low-income households, domestic violence, poor mental and physical health, but it's also poverty as a state of mind. I agree strongly with Tākuta's kōrero last night about mana motuhake being a state of mind. It's the same with poverty. Poverty is a state of mind, and I think the key challenge for us in Te Tai Tokerau is to empower whānau to escape those whakaaro and to move towards a state of liberation.
Kia ora. Heemi and Eru, you agree with your brother, or are there other issues that you see?
Te tino whakaio ki taua kōrero. Koira pia te pūtake o ngā he. That's probably the I guess the causal factor of a lot of the manifestations, I guess, that we see now. And Tipene has already listed some examples of those things, such as disproportionately high incarceration rates, the disproportionate rate of tamariki Māori being placed into non-Māori environments, basically being torn away from their own whakapapa lines and being alienated into homes that don't appreciate who they are or understand who they are and how they operate in their own cultural matrix. So I think that's probably another thing that I guess, yeah, where my heart lies as well. I think it's it's imperative that we consider the health of our tamariki. Ko rātou tonu ko te āpōpō, o reira, koe raka tētahi tino whakaaro matua I roto i ahau. Koina.
So yeah, similarly to my brothers, I share the same whakaaro. From the time that the last year I spent in Tai Tokerau, through the work that I was doing, I did observe a variation of hardships that whānau faced, and what I believe is that because of the many problems that they face, the solutions also have to be just as adaptable and just as varied. It's not a single program, it's not a single policy, it's not a single fund that'll save our whānau, that'll support our whānau, but in fact a cohesive, distinct approach across agency, across community, that's going to produce the best results, most optimal environment for whānau to prosper. And that's and I do believe that we, te iwi Māori, ki o tātou nei mātauranga, kia tātou ngā rautaki he hāpai aki tōranga o tā tātou whānau o te rā o te motu.
Your sons have raised some important kaupapa, Mariameno, and I'm wondering, both as mama but also as our candidate standing in Te Tai Tokerau, how would you go about addressing some of the take that they've raised and actually restoring that mana motu hake of the mind, as both Doc and Tipene have mentioned?
So, I mean, the boys are a representation of what we've done right from babies, because we've instilled in them the ability to think and to design and to reset all the time. So I think just listening to them, it's like, yeah, this makes complete sense. This is how. And when they were talking, I was thinking, yep, we did good. You know, this is what we expect and want all of our mokopuna to be able to become and to demonstrate and to design and recreate the world going forward. So to your question about how would I address this, what I know particularly in the last 8 weeks, but over my lifetime working in health and social justice and working with families and working in suicide prevention, it is so critical to be able to listen carefully, capture what whānau are saying and how they're saying it. And then you're designing. So you're not like, you don't then just take all the conversation away and design it as if you heard it from, I don't know, Mars. So you are constantly coming backwards and collecting and thinking and discussing and creating it with whānau. So all of the addressing and the designing has to be very much with whānau constantly, not once every 2 years when you think there's a consultation round coming. So addressing things is about working with whānau all the time and listening. Yeah.
Kia ora. Yeah, and that's what whānau water is all about, really.
Yes.
It is designing solutions with our whānau, recognising our collective strength. And I must say, I was listening to your sons respond, thinking, ka pai mama, you've raised some critical thinkers, which is what we need. And my parents would always tell me it was the dream of the kura kaupapa kohanga reo system that we produced. Tamariki, rangatahi, tāne like you. So ngā mihi kia koutou.
You want liberated minds.
That's right.
Liberated minds. And doers.
Yeah, who think Māori as well, you know, and can operate in both worlds.
Yes.
I often think of it as you've unleashed our tamariki from a box that you can no longer put them back into. So how do we support them into the next phase, which is what your sons are doing. Now, I want to tell you, Mariameno, and you know this, I asked your sons to tell me a little bit about you. And Tipene said, my mum dares to dream no matter how the odds are stacked against her. Her desire to dream is infectious and instilled into those around her. Beautiful. So what I want to ask you now is, what is your dream and aspiration for ngā whānau o Te Tai Tokerau?
When we were working in the whānau order space, the word and the phrase and the context that still resonates today is whānau rangatiratanga. So whānau living their own full-blown Māori lives, speaking te reo Māori, being able to work between te reo Māori and speak in te reo Pākehā, and live out a full Māori life wherever they choose, whether it's on your Māori land, you know, on your own freehold Māori land, whether it's in a city, wherever it is in the world that you know you live and you die and as a Māori. So, you know, I want that. That's what I want for whānau. But more importantly, that's actually what I hear whānau want. Like, that's constantly what I hear when I'm in Whangaroa, if I'm in Ngāti Kuri, if I'm in Whangarei Te Ringa Palawa. That is constantly the message.
Kia ora. Iru, what kaupapa are you most passionate about, and what would you like your mum to focus on when she gets into Parliament?
Yeah, piki whanapātai tēnā koe. Probably, I think one of, I don't know if I could drill it down to just one aspect of the law, one sector, I guess, that needs to be addressed. But I think one essential issue with our parliament, our government, and how the system works is that, particularly towards Māori, it's extremely paternalistic. And I think one of the, we're constantly talking about mana motuhake, and this goes back to the kōrero that my tuakana shared before. Mana motuhake being a state of mind, and Tākuta Ferris saying that mana motuhake is something you practice, it's not something you ask for. So in order for us to truly practice our mana motuhake, I think it's important that we, try and address, I guess, or take down these paternalistic systems that impose what is claimed to be good for Māori onto Māori, and negotiate ways through the law that exists, but also through reform where we as Māori can take the reins really on a lot of matters. And an example I can think of, the Oranga Tamariki Act was reformed last year, and there are quite a few provisions in there that allow for iwi to negotiate directly with the Crown, for iwi to exercise certain powers in respect of tamariki Māori, right? But the thing is, that section that just sits there in this this legislation, and that's just going to be words on a piece of paper unless the Crown approach Māori, or unless Māori approach the Crown in order to give life to those sorts of provisions. And I think it's the same thing with the RMA and with the old Oranga Tamariki Act. It's the same story really, and I think there needs to be a fundamental behavioural change in how the Crown operates with Māori. And I think, yeah, it comes down to the treaty, partnership, tikanga Māori, all of those things. Ahua whānui tērā whakautu.
Tika tērā. It is all about structural change, because it's been a structure that's been imposed on us. That's part of the challenge. Heemi, he hau whakaaro.
In terms of my passion, follows similar to what Mum's already in terms of the health sector space, particularly within mental health. Again, the kōrero that Iru's just shared is the similar hardships or similar discrimination that whānau are facing within the health sector, with ministry, agency, all these entities that don't practice the true value and the true meaning of partnership with Māori organisations, social services, to enable, to empower whānau Māori to take the lead with their healthcare, to become not spectators of it, but in fact practitioners of it, as we were, as our tupuna were in the olden days. So that's where my passion is, to find a strategy, to find the routes in which we Te Māori can practice those in today's contemporary environments and situation.
And Tipene, kia hou whakaaro?
My passion lies within the commercial space and trying to empower Māori within that space. If we bring it back to mana motuhake, and if we think about the hierarchy of needs that we'd need to tick off, so one could reach that state of mana motuhake, we need to tick off the most basic needs first off, and that's just kai. That's shelter, that's healthy homes, that's loving whānau. And I firmly believe that creating employment, creating business opportunities by investing in sustainable business models for whānau, hapu and iwi is a really good avenue to tick off those basic needs and then move up higher up into the hierarchy and reaching a state of full potential and mana motuhake and tino rangatiratanga.
Beautiful. You fellas could write the Māori Party policy manifesto.
He's on that team, so that's good. I was just reading Logan's questionnaire around the whānau, particularly at this time in really struggling with mental health and suicide and those horrible things that are just taking over more and more. In fact, though, for Te Tai Tokerau, we had a number just before COVID, and I was our whole team here in Tai Tokerau were thinking, gee, all these our whānau, we have lost 13 in 13 weeks. Hey, mate pene. So they weren't like possibles, they were actuals, whānau, our whānau. So these things are just going to escalate unless we get a completely a strategy that is designed and owned by Māori. And then, well, guess what? We've got the hands and we've got the hearts to make that happen. So that's, I was just wanting to respond and mihi atu ki te whānau I pātai mai tērā pātai. Ka aroha ki aia. Me noki kia koe Kate Cherrington, just heard, and I'm watching her mihi to this conversation. And yeah, I think whānau ora is whānau rangatiratanga, which is what was promised in 1840, and firstly discussed in 1835. So really, this is the time to make this actually happen. And I think under the party we've got the right mix, and we've got we've got dynamite young thinkers, digital natives doing their thing. We're doing our bit, they're doing their bit, and we're going to be better off because of it.
Yeah, kia ora. So there's a lot of kaupapa that we've just talked about in the last 5 minutes. Mental health, mate momori, structural change, empowering whānau, and all the raru we've got to overcome just on the ground to get our whānau up to a level where they can, where they can move forward. That's a huge breadth of issues, Mariameno. But your boys have spoken, and they're right. So how do we go about addressing those issues all at the same time? There's multiple sites of struggle, my dad would say anyway. We've got to address those. So what do we need to do? What does the Māori Party need to do, and what do whānau, hapu and iwi need to do?
So the Māori Party needs to listen a lot and constantly to what whānau is saying. What I've seen in Tai Tokerau in the last, again, 8 weeks, I have seen whānau just get up, do their thing, not wait for anyone, not wait for, though the kai arrived and all other types of resource and aroha arrived, but the efforts were already occurring before. So I think our part is about listening carefully, capturing and understanding the hearts of our whānau, and making absolutely sure that when we're designing policy, when we're setting strategy, we don't forget who told us. And we don't forget this is a Māori kōrero, and it is a he wairua Māori. So you're making that and setting up systemically so those things are ever present, and obviously just dealing with the racism that is just permeates everything that we're doing. So we're fighting and creating all at the same time. Those are big deal jobs. But the closer we stay to whānau, the closer we stay, and the better we listen, and the more we listen, I think we've got the perfect timing to transform our country in this way. That's what I'm seeing already across the motu. Iwi chairs, the national iwi chairs, incredible. Tai Tokerau te kahua tānui. Fully amazing, and I am grateful and is just inspired by their leadership and their endorsement of me in the candidacy, actually. So, mihi aroha kia rātou, tātou te Tai Tokerau.
Yeah, and you're right. More listening is what we all need to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly go around the boys one more time and ask you, and starting with you, Tipene, if people could know one thing about your mum, what would you want them to know?
So Mum already alluded to it before, but yeah, she's one of 10 siblings, and she didn't grow up in the most privileged environment, but she was brave enough to dream, as I said before, and brave enough to break that cycle that I mentioned before. And my siblings and I are fortunate enough to be born into a state of mana motuhake, because that's what Mum created for us.
Beautiful. Iru.
Yeah, actually, there was one question before about Mum being fourth black belt. I think, yeah, one thing, and it relates to that, but I think one thing that I want everyone to know is that Mum's, she's the toughest person I know, actually. I could probably count on one hand how many times she's slept in her whole life. She just works hard, and she works for the kaupapa. Koia tētahi ka whakamōka I aia anō ki te kaupapa tonu. Ka tuku I tōna katoa ki te kaupapa I tutuki ai. No reira, koira tāku ki te iwi, me whakapono mai ki te wahine nei. I runga I te mōhio, ka tino tutuki I aia ngā whainga o te Pāti Māori o tira o tātou o te iwi Māori.
Heemi.
Yeah, in regards to Mum, and I think the teachings that we've been privileged to have, she has a deep wisdom and a deep passion for te iwi Māori. And I think that's been instilled into us. And again, her diligence to ensure that we're working towards that goal of our people living in prosperity, living within their own success and realizing their own potential. I know that the work that we all do is to move our whānau, move our iwi closer to that ideal. And it wouldn't, without Mum, we wouldn't have had that privilege and had that goal for us. So that's the person that Mum is, and that's who she's raised.
Mariameno, how does it feel to hear your boys talk like that about you? And can I borrow them to come and talk to my son about how to talk about his mama?
It feels, well, it feels how does it feel? You know, let me just say this funny, it's in one way, like I not expect it, but it isn't, it's the way we are, it's how we are, you know. So we have conversations like this all the time, tough ones, easy ones, smart ones, you know, whawhai ones. We have this kind of conversation, which is a truth, being able to speak to that right from your heart, you know, head to heart conversation all the time, running up and down. So that's who they are. That's who they've become, because we focused and we trained it. I guess we trained to the state, which just felt like being Māori. Like on one level, I don't find it exceptional really, because this is how I believe we are. We are born this way, and this is how we talk and think and be. So yes, you can borrow them anytime. At any time.
The 17-year-old that needs, you know, some kupu to use.
I think there's something else, if I can, couple, which is having a perfect papa through korotangi, having a sister that too is part of what makes us up, and between korotangi and I, we've done this job. This was the only job that we had, really, you know. Yeah.
And it shows. You've got a beautiful whānau. And I want to ask you, as our final pātai for the evening, with your beautiful whānau next to you, tell us why people should vote for you in this election.
Because I do work hard. Like I work hard. I've been a Māori for a while, so that's going to be really useful in the Māori Party. So I can think in those ways. Even when I'm speaking Pākehā, I'm speaking Māori. I can do that. I can cross that language and make it make sense as a Māori. I'm determined. I'm experienced. This isn't my first rodeo. You know, I'm ready. It feels I'm very ready for this time, and I'm up for the joy and the fight. I'm up for it all.
Beautiful. And on that note, I want to thank you for your kōrero, and thank you as a whānau for sharing. Well, actually, your aroha for one another is so clear, but also the wonderful job you've done as a mama, and of course your husband as a papa, and your sister as a sister. So ngā mihi nui ki a koutou. Arā hoki ki a koutou e mā taki mai ana I tēnei pō. Pō Mārie.